What's going on, beautiful people? It's your main man, Rick the Dawn. And if you are a fan of Michael or the Big Brother show, you couldn't be in a better place because in this episode, we're going to analyze and look at how well Michael has played up until this point. Before we do so, I have to say that this episode is brought to you by the Really Hood Podcast, available everywhere. It is also brought to you by the Frame Tangles NFT collection, available on OpenSea. And also, it is brought to you by my video sharing platform, Vidmondo. Thank you to the amazing people who like this video in advance. All right, folks, here we go. Michael is by far the threat to win the entire game. Even the second and third place threats are so far away. I barely want to mention them. Okay, let's mention them just for conversation's sake. Maybe Monty, maybe Turner, maybe Taylor. But outside of those three, there's just no, and even those three are in no way a threat to Michael's game as it stands today. Now, we know we have a double eviction taking place. And guess what? Michael cannot be voted out because he is one of the HOHs along with Terrence. I think I said in one of my prior episodes that I felt that Michael could be in trouble this week because he's such a big threat. But who am I kidding? Who knew that he would actually win the competition? I mean, come on. All right, so that's what happens. He wins the competition, and as such, there's just no way that he can be eliminated. So there you have it, folks. Michael is untouchable. All right, let's talk about his accomplishments thus far. I'm going to say 6+ competition wins. Michael has won at least 6 competitions in the house, that being HOHs and veto competitions. Wow, this guy has so much Big Brother jewelry. He's starting to look like not just Michael Brunner, but Michael Jordan. Okay, the guy is insane. He has 2 HOH wins. That is insane within itself. He's already starting to climb up that ladder, and that conversation in which he's being mentioned amongst rare individuals. He's up there, okay? And along with those 2 HOH wins, he has a plethora of veto competition wins. It is insane that the other house guests have not put 2 and 2 together to go ahead and start the process of removing Michael. It hasn't happened yet. He has been in at least 2 dominant alliances, okay? At least 2. And as of this moment, he's in the most dominant alliance. Now, he did not get in at the root level when the alliance was formed, but you can make the great argument that as of right now, especially now, he is the most important figure in the Leftovers alliance. All right. He is a veto win threat. You know why you can't really you really have no choice but to backdoor Michael. You want to know why you have no other choice but to backdoor Michael? Because if he gets picked for the veto competition, he is going to win. I've never seen, outside of maybe Xavier and Janelle, players that can win vetoes on command. All right. Michael can win a veto if he says he wants to win it. And it's been that way since the beginning of the season. He's also a chess master, which tells me that, yes, my theory holds some water. He is a puppet master, okay? Now, this episode is relevant from now until forever, but just to give you some context, today was a 2-hour episode in which a lot happened, okay? And in this episode, Kyle is starting to have some fears about Taylor targeting Alyssa. You probably remember that, right? Great. Well, Michael, if you remember, plays both sides of his alliance. He goes to Kyle and says, hey, Taylor's targeting Alyssa. Then he goes to Taylor and say, hey, I think Kyle is kind of, falling in love with Alyssa. So that shows you just how much of a puppet master Michael is. Okay, and the question remains, is Michael playing the perfect game? Now, of course, time will tell. But for the sake of conversation, we have to have the conversation right now before time spills the beans, because time will eventually spoil this entire debate. But I think right now, on August 19th at 12:21 a.m., we can have the conversation. Look, Michael is indeed playing the perfect game. And when I say the perfect game, some people interpret that differently. Some people see the way Xavier played as the perfect game, meaning no showmances, win later, not early, being very quiet most of the time, talking in corners. Some people see that. Some people see Derek's way of gameplay as the perfect game, basically orchestrating everything, playing the Godfather role. Some people see Dr. Will's way of playing, very tenacious. Some people see Janelle. So it's a lot of different ways you can interpret the perfect game. But for me, the perfect game is very clear. Someone who is dominant in different aspects of the game. They're dominant here. They're dominant in competitions. They're dominant in strategy. They're dominant in social. I would argue that Michael is someone who dominates just about every category. So let's look at it. Let's break it down into numbers. Social gameplay. Michael is at least a 9 out of 10. No one hates Michael. Michael has rubbed no one the wrong way, and that is a social. That's something I would argue is a accomplishment. All right. In competitions, he's a 10 out of 10. No questions asked. From a strategic standpoint, he's probably at an 8 out of 10, which is insane. All right. An 8 out of 10 is his weakest number or contribution to the game. And that's just, and I might be wrong about that as well. There are some times when Michael says things, I'm like, I kind of see it that way, Michael. I kind of don't. And I give him the benefit of the doubt because he's been right about so much in the game. So I have to say that right now, according to my barometer, he is certainly playing the perfect game. What do you think about that? Is Michael the best player in the game? Is he playing the perfect game? 10 out of 10. Will he win? Why hasn't anyone targeted Michael yet? Which is probably the conclusion of what I would like to say here. Michael has instilled the fear into the other players. Can we just get that out the way? The other players have not even mentioned Michael's name. Why hasn't Monty gone to Turner or Turner gone to Joseph or Joseph and Taylor had these private conversations about targeting Michael? That's because Michael has them fearful for their big brother lives. He has them so afraid to just mention his name. The only player that I've seen so far that had the courage to even do so was Daniel. Daniel mentioned Michael's gameplay and name on his way out the game. And that's about the only time you feel comfortable mentioning Michael's gameplay when you're about to leave, because he's a dominating force. He doesn't make the players fearful by way of physicality. I just feel like they know that if they target Michael, giving the player that he is and the amazing response or the way that he plays the game, the way that he dominates competitions, they pretty much know you can't even mention his name without a war starting. So in my opinion, that is the way that you ensure yourself as one of the best players in the game. And I think that having made it to jury, he's already in top 20 all time, top 10 all time even. Okay, just making the jury, making it this far with this much on his resume certainly places him in rare conversations, rare spaces in terms of Big Brother legend. So I will have to say that he's in the top 10 without question. What do you think? Let me know in the comment section. I'll be looking, and I'll holler at you on the next one. Peace.